All right, so welcome. I'm Claire McLaughlin. I'm a business advisor with CEIS, and I'll be delivering this webinar this morning all about public sector tendering and essentially practical first steps for third sector organisations. Tendering is a huge area, so what we're going to be attempting to do today is just some practical steps really to get you started, and we'll make sure those slides come out to you so they're very, very practical. All right, so what are we going to be covering then? All right, so the webinar today is going to cover recent beneficial changes to Public Contract Scotland. And if you don't know what Public Contract Scotland is, don't worry, we will be covering that too. So we'll not leave you wondering about any jargon. All right, we're going to look at how to set up email alerts for contract opportunities, to how to set up email alerts essentially within Public Contract Scotland. We'll cover how to set up a Supplier Finder Profile, and that's an incredibly important part of Public Contract Scotland and incredibly important for organisations looking to raise their profile essentially in this market. All right, we're also going to briefly look at how to search within PCS for contract opportunities. We're going to look at where to get further information, training and resources. And then as promised, we will have a Q&A session at the end. Okay. So probably a good place to start is, what do we mean by the public sector? So it's usually wider and larger than we initially think. So the obvious one is kind of local authorities, but there's also the National Health Service, and I've put some examples there: NHS, Greater Glasgow and Clyde. We've got Scottish Government and other government agencies. So for instance, Scottish Enterprise, key public services such as the police, fire, judiciary. Further and higher education, so all of your colleges and universities, non-departmental government bodies, so things like Historic Environment Scotland, and UK government departments that are based in Scotland. So it is large. In fact, there's over 200 public sector bodies in Scotland, and the public sector in Scotland spends over 11 billion each year purchasing a wide range of goods and services. So it's a big marketplace essentially. All contracts worth over £50,000 must be openly advertised on Public Contract Scotland. That's why we're talking about that quite a lot today. There's some exceptions to that for health and social care contracts, but most contract opportunities go through Public Contract Scotland. There's a wide range of opportunities that are published within Public Contract Scotland from the Scottish public sector. It's everything from education to health to construction. And another really important part of this of public sector procurement to understand when you're a third sector organisation is that, you know, the public sector share a lot of values with the third sector. In fact, some of the legislation that covers public sector procurement kind of embeds those values. So for instance, in 2014, the Procurement Reform Act was introduced, and that's to maximise the social, environmental and economic benefits to Scotland of procurement activity. Okay, so that's probably enough from me around the public sector. I think the important thing is that we get on to Public Contract Scotland, because that's really the key to finding and exploring opportunities. Okay, so Public Contract Scotland then is the default tender portal for contracts advertised by Scottish public bodies. So all of those kind of contract opportunities we talked about, with a few small exceptions, all of those are advertised on Public Contract Scotland. It gives suppliers, that's you, free access to contract and subcontract opportunities. Regulated tenders worth over £50,000 are published on Public Contract Scotland, and opportunities under £50,000 are going to use often use the quick quote system that's within PCS, and we're going to be talking quite a lot about quick quotes because they are really great opportunities for third sector organisations. Okay, so that's what Public Contract Scotland is. What kind of things then are we going to see on Public Contract Scotland when we start looking around? So we should see different types of contract notices. And the types of contract notices we're going to see are actual contract notices. So if you see on Public Contract Scotland a contract notice, that means that the contract opportunity is live, i.e. has a specific deadline, so that countdown clock for submission of tender submissions is already going, the procurement's going ahead, and there should be information on that contract notice that will help you make a decision about whether that opportunity is something that you want to bid for. So if you see a contract notice, that's usually a good indication that you're going to be wanting to take some action. All right, other things that you'll see advertised within Public Contract Scotland then, prior information notices, or what we like to call PIN notices. So sometimes a buyer will publish a PIN notice, and essentially what that's to do is it's letting the marketplace know that there might be an upcoming contract. So sometimes they're published to test the market to make sure there's enough suppliers there, or it might be around holding an engagement event, so getting suppliers to come along and find out a bit more information. They're really, really helpful in giving you advance warning that a contract might be coming out, and that might word is quite important, because whilst they're very, very helpful in kind of alerting us and letting us know that things might be coming out, there isn't actually a guarantee that the contract will then be published. So that's just a wee bit of a caveat that goes along with those PIN notices. All right, and the third kind of common thing we're going to see
Can I just pop in for a wee sec here?
Sure.
You've covered your slides there with some of our lovely faces.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Right, is that better, Mark?
It's still kind of on screen a little bit. There you go. You're all sorted now.
Oh, apologies. Okay, there's always something technical. All right, so we got to PIN notices. So the third thing that we're going to find then on Public Contract Scotland are contract award notices. And this is essentially once a contract has been awarded. So once the tender evaluation process is complete, buyers must publish a notice providing details of what supplier won the contract and how many tenders were received. Quite often I see a contract award notice, get really excited because I think it's a contract opportunity, and then realise no, it's already been awarded. So I suppose there's a wee bit of a warning against that. But they are incredibly helpful, contract award notices, especially if you're trying to work out, you know, more about the potential opportunities for your own organisation. You can start to build up a picture of what things have been awarded in the past, how competitive it is, who are the key suppliers for certain products and services. So they can be really, really useful. So that's the kind of common things we're going to see within Public Contract Scotland. Hopefully I've convinced you by this point that it's worth registering, and that's what we're going to look at next. All right, so we're going to look at registering with Public Contract Scotland. We've got a little graphic there of the PCS website, and you'll see just at that right hand side there's a button to register. So if you haven't already registered with Public Contract Scotland, I'm hoping that after this session you're going to go online and press that button. All right, so once you do press that button, you'll be asked some basic information about your organisation, kind of contact details, email address, key contact email address. But for third sector suppliers, there's been a really important change to the registration page, and I'm going to show you that just now. All right, so now at the bottom of that registration page, there has been a simplified what we call third sector identifier. So hopefully you're seeing in front of you, you've got two options. So third sector and supported business, you've got is third sector and then is supported business. So if you're a third sector organisation, you really want to be clicking that box. And once you've clicked that box, what that means is that you're identified as a third sector organisation throughout the PCS website, and there are benefits to that I'll go into. So these important changes were made by the Scottish Government recently, to the changes to that identifier, to make it easier for third sector organisations to identify themselves, and critically also to be found by public sector buyers. These changes were brought in as part of the SME and third sector procurement action plan, and essentially what that's doing is it's aiming to enhance third sector data from the supplier finder on PCS and to facilitate buyers being able to find third sector organisations. So an important change, if you're on, just make sure you're ticking that button. If you're already registered with Public Contract Scotland, really now is the time to go on and make sure that you've clicked that button. As I say, now buyers are able to search for third sector organisations, so having that ticked is very important. All right, so what do we do now that we're registered? So now that you're registered, the key place within Public Contract Scotland for your organisation is going to be this supplier area. So you'll notice that bar across Public Contract Scotland website. There's various options there, but you know, if you get lost or you wonder where something is, if you just keep going back to that supplier area, all of the information both about your organisation and any contracts that you're interested in will be within that that supplier area. So as we go through the slides today, we'll keep returning to that supplier area, and I hope that, you know, when you're on PCS yourself, you know, if you get a bit lost, you just return to that supplier area. So we're going to click on that supplier area. And what do we see then when we click on it? We've got a whole load of information, but at this point in time, what we're going to be looking at is my profile. So within my profile, we've got the company profile. That's the information that you put in when you first registered. And the next option then is alert profile. So you really want to be ticking on alert profile because you want to be setting up an alert profile. So before I keep using jargon, let me explain what is an alert profile. So it's a profile that's based on what were called commodity categories or areas of business and geographic locations that you'd be interested in supplying to. So you're basically saying, here is the things that I'm interested in, and if there are any contracts published that hit that category and that geography, I want to receive an email about it. So you complete this alert profile. Once you've done that, you will start to receive email alerts. So every time a contract notice is published that hits that category you've chosen and the geography, then you'll automatically receive an email alert. So it means setting this up means that you'll not miss any opportunities. So it's a really important and helpful thing to do. Okay, so an alert profile, yeah, helps to keep you up to date with any relevant opportunities. The potential parameters are quite wide, so it might be that you get excited you first set it up and you choose all the things that might be relevant, and you actually get quite a lot of emails, so you might want to narrow it down. So if you're aware that the parameters are quite wide, what you might want to do is really focus in on the stuff that's going to be most relevant to your organisation, but you can go in and change it if needs be. All right, so you'd be clicking on alert profile and it's take you to this page that says start creating your profile. Here we've got the categories, so you've got a choice to browse categories, and we've got all sorts of things in there. For instance, I've clicked here, business services, law, marketing, consulting, recruitment, printing and securities. There are a lot of categories. You can also search for categories as well, and you're clicking the ones that you're interested in. And again, when something's published that hits that category, you'll receive an email about it. The other part of the alert profile is geography. They're quite wide geographic areas. So for instance, the one highlighted there's Highlands and Islands, but if you look at it's Glasgow, it's not just Glasgow, it's Glasgow and Strathclyde. There is a choice to do all of Scotland, but and that might be the case. Your organisation might cover the whole of Scotland. So you want to have a think about what geographic locations you want to be clicking there. All right, so we've got our category and geographic location set up. Once we do that and we save that, we should start receiving email alerts. Here's an example of an email alert. So you're going to get an email in. It's going to have some basic information about, is it a contract? In this case, it's contract award notices, when it was published, and you'll have a link within that email. You click on that and that'll take you directly to that contract notice. So it's a really, really helpful thing to set up an alert profile. All right, so alert profile set up. What's the next thing we need to really think about? The next thing we want to be thinking about is a supplier finder profile, and this is really important. It's not automatic when you register with Public Contract Scotland. So if you're on watching this session today and you know you've registered for Public Contract Scotland, it's really worth checking if you've set up a supplier finder profile, because it could be that you've registered and not gone through all of those steps. So yeah, really important to check. All right, so what is a supplier finder profile, first of all? So it's a supplier sourcing directory. It allows you to advertise your organisation on Public Contract Scotland. You can provide detailed information regarding the products or services you provide, and it means that buyers can easily find your organisation. Now, I told you about the changes that I'd made to Public Contract Scotland, and one of the key changes that's been made is that now buyers can search specifically for third sector organisations. So there's increased opportunity now if you're a third sector organisation of buyers being able to find you. So all the more reason to set up a supplier finder profile. Okay, you can add searchable keywords which highlight the products or services you provide, and that profile, that supplier finder profile, is linked to the categories you selected in your alert profile. It will improve your chances of receiving a quick quote invitation, and I did promise I'd talk a little bit more about quick quotes, so let me explain what I mean by quick quote. Okay, so the quick quote system within Public Contract Scotland is used by buyers to purchase goods or services which are considered low risk or low value. So quick quote systems used for opportunities under £50,000. The quick quotes are created on Public Contract Scotland by buyers, and buyers then distribute them to a selected list of suppliers. The quick quotes are not made public. Only suppliers that are selected by the buyer to quote can access the details of the quote and submit a quote. So if buyers are looking for organisations to invite for a quick quote, they have a search function where they can search for organisations using the supplier finder stuff, so on keywords, and also now they can search specifically for third sector organisations. Okay. So how do we set up a supplier finder profile now that we know how important it is? Again, we're going back to that supplier area. So again, reiterating how important that is. It's just under the alert profile. You've got that button, supplier finder profile. So we're going to click on that. And this is going to take us into the supplier finder profile. Interestingly and importantly, right at the top of the supplier finder profile, there's an opportunity to click the button to unpublish or publish. So what I would be saying to you is, it's really, really important to remember, if you filled in a supplier finder profile, make sure you've clicked publish. So again, for people that are already registered on Public Contract Scotland, if you haven't got a supplier finder profile, please set one up. But if you think you've got one, it's always worth checking that if it was yourself or someone else in the past, perhaps just making sure they've clicked that publish button. All right, so a bit of information about your organisation. Again, you can select the category, the geographic areas. So there are the areas you'd be interested in supplying goods or services to. Next on the page then we've got these keywords that I promised to talk about. So you've got the option of 6 keywords. So you can enter up to 6 and these keywords describe the products or services you provide. They're searchable by potential buyers. When you're creating keywords, you really want to put yourself in the buyer's shoes. So what kind of words might public sector organisations use to describe the types of services that you offer, and try and use the wording, that type of wording within your keywords. You can insert up to 50 characters in each box, and if you require to use more than one box, if you require to use more than one words in each box, so you can have more than one word, but up to 50 characters. The buyer search mechanism will find partial matches for keywords. So spending a bit of time coming up with some keywords that are really describe what you're wanting to provide is really, really helpful. All right, and then right at the bottom of the Supplier Finder Profile page, you can see those identifiers again. Now, if you clicked on registration that you're a third sector organisation, this should automatically have ticked within your Supplier Profile Finder or Supplier Finder Profile, sorry. If, for instance, you've had a PCS registration for a while, you might want to go in and just make sure that that's clicked. You can save and view, you can save, and then obviously always remember to click publish. So that's Supplier Finder Profile, really useful and will seriously increase your chances of being invited to quick quote. So for a quick quote opportunity, that's that opportunity under £50,000. Okay, so some just handy tips around Supplier Finder profiles. Think like a buyer, write your Supplier Finder profile with potential buyers in mind. The more well thought out keywords you use, the greater chance of appearing in a search. Remember to press publish. Okay, I've kind of hammered that out a bit, so you won't forget. And remember to review your profile regularly. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about quick quotes because kind of Supplier Finder profiles and quick quotes go hand in hand. So if, for instance, you are selected to quote, you'll receive an email alerting you that you've been asked to quote for a quick quote. The email contains a link taking you directly to the quick quote opportunity. You will then have a choice of accepting or declining the quick quote. So we'll just quickly look at this so that, you know, if you do, or if you're lucky enough to be asked to quote for a quick quote, you know, you at least know the steps that you would take. All right, so this is what the panel you would be taken to looks like. On the right hand side then you've got the choices: accept invitation, decline invitation. If you press decline invitation, they usually ask for a reason, but we're going to click accept invitation. It'll then ask you to go to the post box. So this is another area within PCS that I'm just going to describe quickly. All right, so we're going to go to the post box, but what is it? So the PCS Postbox is an online submission facility. It allows buyers to receive responses electronically from suppliers in a secure environment. Responses are submitted through the portal and held in the secure postbox until the deadline for responses has expired. It's used for the receipt of tender responses, quick quote submissions, what we're talking about, and all supporting documents. So essentially, if you're asked to provide a quick quote and you want to do that, you'd be opening all the documentation, finding out how they want to receive the tender, filling all the details in, and then you'd be wanting to go to the post box. So we're going to do that now. So you go into the post box, any opportunities that you have selected before or been asked to quick quote for will be within your postbox response workspace, and there's options on the right hand side. In this case, we're going to press create. When we press create, it takes us into the postbox, and from there we're able to add any documentation for that tender. Right at the bottom of the page then we can save and exit. You know, we can put some information up before we're quite ready to submit. But when we are ready to submit, we would be selecting that dispatch box, and that would send our tender up to the post box, waiting for the deadline, at which point the buyer would be able to access all of the tenders received on time for that tender opportunity. All right, so that is, so we've covered alert profiles, supplier finder profiles, quick quotes, and the PCS postbox. And all of those things are simple. There's some simple actions there you can take to really improve your chances of receiving quick quotes themselves by setting up a supplier finder profile. And you've just got a bit more knowledge about PCS in general. What I'd like to do now is to cover how you search for those larger opportunities, for those opportunities above £50,000. So there's two main ways to search on PCS. You can search on notices and you can search on buyers. So we're going to look firstly at searching for notices. So we're moving away from our favourite place, the suppliers area, onto search notices. So it's just on that bar across the front of PCS websites. We're going to click on search notices and we'll find that it opens up a page. And on this page, on the left-hand side, you've got the different options for searching, and on the right hand side you've got a rolling update of contract notices, contract award notices and PIN notices as they're published. Let's look at the search options in a bit more detail. All right, so now we can see the search options for searching on PCS, searching on notices. So we've got keywords, we have buyer's name, so perhaps you want to focus in on a particular buyer, you could put their name in there, and there's various references. So potentially someone's told you about a contract opportunity that's up and they've given you some of the reference numbers. You can search on that. You can search on notice type. So, you could only search on contract notices or contract award notices or prior information notices. You can select location, category, subcategory. Also published from and published to. So there's just so much information on PCS. It's a fantastic resource. Do you know, if you're wondering how much time is it worth investing on PCS, on getting, are there opportunities there for my organization, then just spending a little bit of time searching. Maybe you want to set those dates at the bottom for the past 3 years, have a search, use some keywords and start to drill down, like what opportunities have been awarded in that time, and is there a marketplace for the products and services I'd be interested in. Again, using different types of keywords, experimenting a little bit to bring up opportunities that are of interest, and that searching in itself can indicate what might be useful keywords to use when you're setting up your supplier finder profile. So loads of opportunities to both find current opportunities or even do some market research in terms of what's available on PCS. So that's how you would search for notices. I said there were 2 ways to do it, and the other way is to look at buyers directly. So it might be that you think, I really want to narrow in on one particular buyer. I really think that they're going to be the key buyer for my products and services. So I want to find out a bit more information about them particularly. So you can search directly for a public sector buyer. You can search by name, putting in the buyer organisation, by sector or by postcode. Once you've conducted that search, I've pulled up one buyer. So I've pulled up Dumfries and Galloway Council just to give you an idea of what comes up. You'll see there's various different choices of information available within the buyer details. So you can click on current contract notices. You can see what's been advertised that's current. You can look at things that might be coming out in the future, so those prior information notices. You can look at contract award notices and past contract notices. So there's lots of information within that. There's also some buyers will have uploaded what's called a contracts register. You can see there's an option to click on that here, and I'll just explain, I'll very briefly explain information about what's available within a contract register. So contract registers then. So public sector buying organisations must keep and maintain a contracts register, and it contains information on contracts they've awarded, which are valued at £50,000 or above, excluding VAT for goods and services. So the information that's on a contract register, some of it's then, so the date the contract was awarded, the name of the contractor, the contract's been awarded to, subject matter, estimated value, the start date of the contract, end date of the contract, duration of any contract extension period. So there's loads of information. Where a buyer's uploaded a contract register, you can really start to, that kind of market research I was explaining to you, where there's a contract register, you can really have a good look at what's been awarded in the past and start to build up a picture of the marketplace and the demand for the products and services that your organisation provides. So here's just a kind of a screenshot of what a contract register looks like, and the search functionality you have. So again, you can search for term contracts only, expired contracts, you've got a category search function there, and an advanced search where you might know a bit of information already, and it's quite a, yes, there's a lot of information there, and it's a really useful tool in terms of market research. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot of ground already, so maybe it would be quite helpful to have a wee recap on the key things around Public Contract Scotland. All right, so what are the key things that you want to be doing after watching this webinar? So you want to go on Public Contract Scotland, you want to be setting up regular email alerts, so setting up your alert profile to make sure you receive regular email alerts. You want to set up and publish your Supplier Finder profile. So we've talked in quite a bit of detail about how to do that, why you would do that. So hopefully I've convinced you that it's worth your time to set up and publish a Supplier Finder profile. Yeah, on Public Contract Scotland, you can search current, past and future tenders. So there's a wide array of information there about stuff that you might want to bid on right now, or indeed if you're just trying to explore whether there's a market for your products and services, a wide array of different searches that you can do to build up a picture of the marketplace essentially for your organisation. All right, so nice wee tick list there for Public Contract Scotland. Where can you find further support and information? So I've described the recent changes to Public Contract Scotland. There is a website page all about this, where there's information, how-to guides and blogs, really helping you to register, make sure you're ticking that identifier to say you're a third sector organisation. So loads of information on that page about that, about how you can set up Supplier Finder profiles. Helpfully, on this, we've got the web address for that resource page. There's also the option to apply for one-to-one support, and that one-to-one support's from an advisor who'll support you in registering on PCS and also in creating a good Supplier Finder profile. So that's a really helpful resource and direct support you can apply for, all about registering and, as I say, setting up a Supplier Finder profile. So CEIS, my own organisation, then we are getting as much information as we can out into the sector about the PCS changes, the benefits of the changes to the third sector identifier, and why you should why you should register for Public Contract Scotland and set up a supplier finder profile. So we'll be posting loads of information about this, blogs, more forthcoming webinars. So please do follow us on Blue Sky and on LinkedIn for more information about it. Public Contract Scotland itself, within that supplier area that we've kind of kept going back to. So within Public Contract Scotland supplier area, they've got a whole wider range of how-to guides and videos. It'll walk you through setting up supplier finder profiles. It'll walk you through registration, walk you through how to respond to quick quotes. So there's loads of information within the Public Contract Scotland website itself. So yeah, hopefully between all of those resources, you won't have any issues in terms of setting up and registering and getting that supplier finder profile set and published. So that's the kind of further support and information just around, you know, getting registered, getting your supplier finder set up. But there is further information for this, not further information, sorry, there is further support available for the sector around tendering. So there's support that comes through the Just Enterprise programme. So probably worth going through what Just Enterprise is. So Just Enterprise then is funded by the Scottish Government. The Just Enterprise programme provides support to social enterprises and enterprise and charities in Scotland. It's designed to equip participants with the skills, knowledge and resources they need to start, build and grow successful businesses, and includes business skill workshops, one-to-one support, e-learning and more. So this Just Enterprise is a lot wider than just tendering. There's a whole array of support, as I say, around starting, building and growing successful social enterprise and charities. It's delivered by a consortium of third sector partners led by CEIS Group. But importantly, and the reason why I'm bringing up Just Enterprise is that within the programme, there is a one-to-one tendering support. So if you do come across a contract notice and you think, right, we're going to bid for this, but we need some support, you are able to apply for tender support through the Just Enterprise programme. That's open to individual organisations, individual social enterprises, and also potentially social enterprises coming together to bid collaboratively. The types of support that's delivered through that one-to-one tendering support, it does vary depending on need, but the types of things we would look at are things like a bid plan, maybe support with Public Contract Scotland or the sister site, Public Contract Scotland, PCST, which we didn't get into. There's support around some of the documentation you have to fill in, understanding tender documents, and we can also provide support around reviewing draft tender responses, that kind of critical friends support. So as I say, if you are going to be specifically tendering for a piece of work, the contract notice is out, or you've maybe just seen it, you know, you register, you suddenly see it and you need a bit of support, you can apply for support through Just Enterprise. Okay, so everything to do with Just Enterprise goes through the Just Enterprise website. So if you are applying for one-to-one support, you would do that through the Just Enterprise website. But there are a whole load of other things there as well. There's a whole load of learning and resources. And I've highlighted that some of the learning that we do is in-person training, and in particular, we do a full day introduction to tendering. So that's worth, you know, if you want to take forward the learning from today and do a little bit more, then you might want to sign up for that. There's e-learning, there's resources, so you can access resources and apply for support at the Just Enterprise website, and the address for Just Enterprise is in the slides. So hopefully that's helpful. You know, there's that further support available. I also wanted to highlight our partner organisation, the Supplier Development Programme. So the Supplier Development Programme provides a whole array of support for suppliers, for SMEs and third sector organisations. So it's an independent free tender resource. They do a whole range of tender training courses from basic to advanced. They also offer access to buyers through a whole array of meet the buyer events and talking tender webinars. They have focus training and training that's aligned to particular contract opportunities. They have e-learning modules, monthly newsletter and social media to alert you to new opportunities and projects. So I would really encourage you, if today's kind of whetted your appetite, you've registered on PCS, but you want to know more, then Supplier Development Programme's got, as I say, a whole array of training and meet the buyer events. So it's well worth registering with them and exploring what's available to your organisation.